What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel as always. I have a pivot to make in this particular video. At first, honestly, I was going to do a whole video based on some 90s death metal. I'm sure a lot of audience are probably like, man, I wish this is the way you would have went with this, but you know what? He said there was a pivot that was made. And there's a reason for that. Have to lean back a little bit. Sorry for the inconvenience. Here's what it boils down to. I was listening to something, and pretty much what it did was it did this thing that music sometimes does to us, and it puts us in this state of mind slash place where it reminds us of when we were younger. The whole world was ahead of us. We can conquer things. We can take things over. Pretty much, if you will, the world is our oyster yet. And never listen to stuff like that. Being now me, a man in my 40s, reminiscing on, not saying like, this is something, it makes you sad and, that you, whatever your life is. It's just, it makes you sad inside. It breaks your heart. It makes your heart ache. At least these are what these albums do to me. And there was one particular album I was listening to that spawned this whole thing. Like I said, I was all ready to rock and roll. I was ready to go into this whole, I want to make a video of some 90s death metal. I got them all, like at least a decent little stack over there. I was ready, this is what the video is going to be about. But like I said, I was listening to something, which I do, and I'm sure you do, and it made me make this pivot. So there's not a lot here. This video probably ain't even be that long, but I thought it was an important video to make because I know all of us, if we're human beings, have something. It can be music, movies, because the main thing that triggered this is a soundtrack. Okay, and it's a soundtrack to a movie that also, which is probably gonna be, I'm probably gonna make it the title of this goddamn video. Something that makes my heart break, hurt, ache, whatever I want to have. It just reminds me of a time, again, whenever we were at this state where everything was just, it was nice. I mean, there was a meme or something, a meme that was going around was, it's Saturday night or Friday night. You just started playing whatever blah 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 video game on Nintendo or Super Nintendo, whatever have you, and just Mountain Dew and pizza, and your life's never gonna get better than this. It's kind of like along those lines, if you will. Stuff that movies or music that you remember listening to, and it was just that. So let's just get into some stuff here. Let's just get into it. So I'm flying off the walls with this, but this is sometimes the best videos because this is never the ones that the emotion's the best. All right, let's kick off one. Again, this is off the walls. Just a couple albums I grabbed that I knew had to be in this. This is Prince, Purple Rain. I'm like, Prince, Purple Rain, yes. Great album, but also an album to a soundtrack to a movie that was kind of cheesy. Let me get some focus going on. There we go. Kind of cheesy, kind of corny. But goddamn, from my point in time in my life, this album is a lot of importance. Front and back. This is, of course, the reissue, remaster, whatever have you. But always bang the mic in every episode. It wouldn't be a traditional Vinyl Syndrome video if I don't bang the shit out of the mic. Standard black vinyl. I'm checking. Nothing special about that. Insert, of course, classic. That's the classic right there. Tracks on this that, for me, again, being a kid, watching this movie, listening to the soundtrack, big Prince fan. I was actually a big fan of this movie growing up. I watched a lot. Again, as cheesy, as corny as it might have been, there was just a lot of greatness on this soundtrack, if you will, album to this movie. Of course, Purple Rain. I'm not going to get any deeper into that. When Doves Cry, of course, awesome. Darling Nikki, great. Just all this whole era of this just reminds me of a time when I was a little kid, listening to this, jamming to this, loving this, and it makes me sad, somewhat listening to this. And that's the whole point sometimes of certain things. I know it's kind of weird, like, what, this makes you sad? It kind of does, because like I said, it reminds me of a time in my life that, again, everything was in front of you. Everything's possibilities. But, we get older, as you will. Next one. Now, this one here, actually the next two, because I'm looking at the next one, so I'm just going to go right rapid fire into these next ones. These ones are important to me. Everybody's going to have something like this, I'm sure, either maybe in their collection, or at least in their heart, of like how this might feel to them. Okay, this album hurts me, especially like makes my heart ache. And I listen to like a lot of tracks on this album because it reminds me of my dad. Okay, we all have parents, at least I hope we do. And of course, some of us have the tragedy of, our parents weren't around or didn't stick around or whatever have you, and that sucks, and my heart breaks and aches for that as well. But this here reminds me of when I was a little kid. My dad was a gigantic Pink Floyd fan. Wish You Were Here reminds me, I could have easily have pulled Dark Side of the Moon. So many just great memories with these albums. But this one in particular reminds me of when I was a little kid coming from school, my dad in the kitchen, either transferring stuff reel to reel or from tape onto CD that was Pink Floyd related, because Pink Floyd was my dad's shit. And honestly, it's my shit too to this day because of that reason. Growing up, a lot of times we gravitate what our parents listened to. My dad was a gigantic Pink Floyd fan. I remember my mom listened to a lot of like Tina Turner and stuff like, that ilk. So that's why I'm, like a lot of those type of artists. But Wish You Were Here. That's the main track, I guess I wanted to pinpoint on this album. Of course, there's other ones, Have a Cigar, Welcome to the Machine, just so many great ones. But Wish You Were Here, to me, I don't know why, I just remember when I was a kid getting off the school bus, walking down the street to the front of my house, and I can hear that song blasting outside my house as I was trying to enter, into my house. And there goes my father in the kitchen. Like I said, either it was something on reel to reel he was trying to transfer, or something from tape he was trying to transfer. And it reminded me of that. And it makes me sad. It hurts my heart because thankfully I got this part. I guess you can say thankfully, who knows. But this part from my father of being a big music guy. I thank him for that. And my dad's still here. I'm thankful for that because I know a lot of people's parents aren't still here. Again, for instance, people that don't have parents that aren't still here, or maybe didn't have parents that got to raise you, whatever. It's a shame. But me personally, I had a couple great ones, and they're still here, and I'm thankful for that. And this is one of those albums, bands that does it for me. Whew. Told you, tugging. All right, let's keep cruising because this is an important thing. Next one, again, I said this relays again, back to back, and there's a reason for this. Again, this may not be for everybody. I fully understand this. Again, guys, I'm sorry for this pivot in this video, but I think you might understand where I'm coming from with this. Whether just put whatever album I'm showing at this time, put your album in this picture. to make it work for you, if you will. Maybe you'll have like a little more grace, forgiveness for some things that you might not, like or understand as much. But this one here, again, is a big one for me. This is a soundtrack to a movie. This is Eddie and the Cruisers. This is the soundtrack to the movie Eddie and the Cruisers, and the original music by John Cafferty, performed by the Beaver Brown Band. All right. There was actually two to this. Eddie and the Cruisers and Eddie Lives. I prefer the first movie. It has, again, more sentimental value to me. More, again, that whole, every time I watch it, same thing with this soundtrack. It's made with this about heartache. Again, it reminds me of when I first listened to this, watched this movie. My dad saying, "Hey, Rich, come here, check this movie out. This is about this fictional band, Eddie and the Cruisers." I don't want to ruin the plot to you guys, but it goes on to make this album, blah blah blah, and lead singer winds up dying, and there's like this whole hullabaloo, blah blah blah. But again, I don't want to ruin it. If any of you guys haven't seen this yet, I highly recommend at least checking it out. It's a decent flick. Again, there's a second one to this, Eddie Lives, and the Cruisers 2. Again, not really my cup of tea. It's more 80s driven, where this one's just more rock driven. This was a good movie. This was a good soundtrack. There's a lot of hits you might even know on this. On the dark side, the big one for me though, Tender Years. Again, it's one of those tracks that whenever I hear it, it just grips in my heart, aches it a little bit. It makes me kind of sad. And I like doing that sometimes. I'm one of those sick, that likes doing that. Because to me, for music, this is what it's about. It's kind of like a therapy to a lot of times. I mean, some people might go to a psychiatrist or whatever have you. To me, I like going to my music collection. I like listening to stuff that sometimes might remind me of when I was a child. Never, stuff I didn't growing up, certain points in my life like everybody else. And these are important albums for me that, again, are tugging at my heart in a way that kind of, looking back, makes me kind of sad. But at the same time, I'm glad I have them. I like spinning them, and I'm always going to spin them because the sadness that these convey, even though it does suck, it's important. Okay? And again, just real fast, go through some of these tracks that maybe some of these guys might know. On the dark side, Tender Years, Run Around Sue, which is a big one. Wild Summer Nights, Betty Lou's Got a New Pair of Shoes, Those Oldies But Goodies Remind Me of You, and great track, Season of Hell, Fire Suit, just a great goddamn song. But yeah, great flick, and a great soundtrack. Can't say enough about this for me. Again, me. We're going to put whatever you want in this picture. That be for you, but for me, this was a good one because of what it does from my memories of, again, my dad, the era, the time. Even now, I hear it. It just all floods back. And again, it's one of those things that makes me sad, but at the same time, it makes me joyous, which is kind of weird, but it just does. And I'm sure, like I said, if this video is making any sense to you, it's relating in a way. I just got two more left. As I can see, we're not running too bad. We're only in 14-minute range, so I'm gonna save me for the one that kicked this whole thing off for last. But let's go to second to last here. This album here. This for me, 90s. 90s was a time. Grunge. I'm sure most people would say that as well. Grunge was the theme of the 90s. Grunge. And everybody might have their favorite bands. I'm never going to, say, how you're crazy, this was the best band, even though, honestly, when I was younger, I did do that. But now, looking at it, I never do that. But Alice in Chains was the best band of the 90s grunge era. Just so you know, if you say anybody else, you're wrong. Even if you like Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Soundgarden, blah, 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 whatever have you. No. Alice in Chains, they were the best. Anyways, whatever you like. But this album here, I was a huge, I can't stress this enough, guys, Alice in Chains fan in the 90s. I still am. I mean, that's never going to change. That was just that, in the 90s, that was my band. And this album in particular, Alice in Chains Unplugged, was something special for me. I watched a lot of the MTV's Unplugged at the times. There was a lot of good ones. Again, some of the grunge ones were the best, especially Pearl Jam. Stone Temple Pilots was good as well. But this one here, this one was phenomenal. The best on MTV Unplugged. It's a shame you got to see Neverland came out, the torment he was going through, his addiction, just everything else. It was all front and center, and it's a shame. But goddamn, did Layne sound amazing on this performance, this live set, and on this LP, of course. And the main reason why this is being pulled is because the very first track that kicks off this album that was on, I believe it was SAP, their EP slash, I think it might have been with something else also as well. Was it Facelift? I can't remember, but I know it was on SAP, not Shell. That's the opening track. That's when Layne comes on. It's when the crowd's going crazy, and they come in with Nutshell. And this is one of my favorite, if not the favorite, song by Alice in Chains. I love this track. I love how Layne does it in this. I love how the band performs in this. The rawness, the emotion, everything that is in this album, of course, but particularly this track, just resonates in me, reminds me of the 90s, and that hurts me. I don't think that's hard to explain to some of you people, but it just does. It reminds me of a time that we're not going to get back, and that's fine. I mean, because we're always pushing forward. That's what we're doing here. We're always trying to advance. We're always trying to get better. We're always trying to move. We're always trying to push forward. But I think it's an important thing, us as humans on this rock flying through outer space at whatever miles per hour in a low skin suit, full bones, that we, at least try to recognize our existence, our pain, our sorrow, our grief. I know some of us don't like to do that, but I think it's an important thing. And for me, one of those bands that did it well in the 90s was Alice in Chains, and Unplugged was on one of those albums for me that just did it very, very well. Again, I remember watching this when it first aired. I had the same kind of emotion then that I do now, which is why I have a special connection with this. It made me sad, and it makes me even sadder now that I'm older. I mean, we're all getting older, guys. Unless you know something I don't know, I don't fucking know. But this is one of those albums for me that's just like, goddamn. I mean, it just is what it is. So, all right, let's move on. All right, not too bad. Almost at 19 minutes. We're doing good, guys. We're doing good. Again, I'm sorry for the pivot. Again, next video, I promise I'm going to get into some good old 90s death metal to have stacked over there. I got some good ones. But I don't know. It's just the mood struck me, and I had to get it. I had to do it, and I wanted to do it. So let's go. All right, this one here, this is it. And oddly enough, it's a soundtrack. And this hurts me every single time I listen to it. I have this on vinyl. Not only the soundtrack, I have the score, I have it on CD, I have it on DVD, I have it on Blu-ray, I have it downloaded. I mean, you name it, I have this. Okay, and there's a reason for that. It hurts, but it hurts in a way that I think it hurts what we have to remember. Like, I don't. That seems weird to say, but to me, it makes total sense. It's like a necessary evil, if you will, where something I have to do to myself. I have to put myself through this. I have to watch this. I have to listen to this. I have to remember this time, and I know that this is never going to get there again. And I know, again, I'm not trying to say I'm living in regret or like it's not any of that. That's what I'm saying. This is what it's hard to say, and some of you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like, maybe you're sitting around with your friends and you're playing goddamn, what was that video game? I used to play it all the time with my friends. It wasn't Mortal Kombat. It was the one that was on Super Nintendo. Cook a Combo Breaker game. Oh my god. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Used to play it all the time. But it's just that time, you know what I mean? Where you're hanging out, eating pizza, playing video games, listening to music, watching these type of movies, listening to this type of music, and it just reminds you of that. And it's just, man, I wish I can just go back, and it hurts your heart, makes you sad. It just does. And I'm sorry, I'm beating around the bush with this. I shouldn't be. The Crow. Okay, anybody knows me knows that this movie, soundtrack, everything with this is my jam. It's one of the important thing to me. This hurts. This hurts every single time. I either watch the movie, listen to the soundtrack. I was just listening to the soundtrack, and the very first track to kick this off, The Cure, Burn. I love The Cure, and I said this a lot. You can call me crazy. It's fine. We're entitled to our opinions. This is my favorite Cure song. This is my favorite Cure song. You know why? Because it conveys the best emotion to me out of all the Cure songs. This hurts me. It makes me sad. It makes me yearn. It makes me wish for a time that I will never get back. And it's just this that it puts me in, but in the best way possible. The best way possible, where I want to pick up the needle and put it back again. I want to reset the album and put it back on track one. It's like one of those weird sicknesses we might all have with whatever have you. You know what I mean? It is one of those things. And then this album just progresses, and Madness of Loving Grace, Big Empty, Stone Temple Pilots, Nine Inch Nails, Dead Souls, Darkness, Rage Against the Machine. This whole album just has so much nostalgia that is just wrapped up in sorrow, heartache, pain, suffering. Again, same thing with the movie for me. Again, tragedy would happen to Brandon Lee during the filming of that movie. Again, because for me, that movie was awesome, and they made remakes of that movie, and they were never the same as the original. And I knew they weren't going to be, because Brandon Lee made that movie something special. The soundtrack to this movie was something special. There was just this certain aura to this album that made it something special, the movie, everything. And it reminded me of a time that, sadly, I'll never have back again. And that was the whole premise of this video. I'm not trying to depress you guys. Even though I probably might have did a good job with that. I'm sorry. But again, it's just one of those heat of the moment things. I was listening to this, and I thought, you know what, this would make a good video. I'm feeling this. Let's just do it. And then, like I said, the next video I do, I'm gonna have to jump into these 90s death metal albums that not your average run of the mill 90s death metal albums, Cannibal Corpse, ever have you. I'm gonna try to throw in some stuff here that might not be as mainstream, but somewhat being talked about a little bit on a somewhat mainstream down low. But that's gonna do it, guys. Hope I didn't depress you too bad. Thanks for tuning in again. I'm gonna keep them coming. Hope you're enjoying them. Love you. Comment, like, subscribe, all that good shit, and keep on rocking, guys. Peace out.